Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Kari and today I'm going to be talking about Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day depending on the state you're in these days. Because it's two different sort of holidays, I decided that I would make a video with books about both of them. So without further ado, let's get going. I have, well, a fair number of books to be honest, obviously, but about this topic in particular. So we'll start with the books that about the international and comparative aspect of the Indigenous peoples. There's a lot of facts that I could go into, but I won't because I don't want to bore you. But the first one is International Human Rights and Indigenous Peoples by James Anaya. Anaya is currently the dean at University of Colorado Boulder, or CU if you're from Colorado. He also was the special rapporteur for the Indigenous peoples on the UN for several years. But that was a really interesting book. It was really good. It talked more specifically about the international part. We read from so many different countries, which was really interesting to me. And then the second book that we read for that class was Indigenous Peoples and the Law, Comparative and Critical Perspectives. And this is just an Osgood reader, so there's a whole bunch of different authors in here. Many of them are quite famous. There's one really well-known Canadian author in this, and I can't remember his name, but he wrote the chapter on the environment and Indigenous peoples, which I loved. It wasn't assigned, but I loved it anyway. I think out of the two, this was probably my favorite, but this was focused on 4 countries: Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, and those 4 countries' treatments of Indigenous peoples over the years, which, gotta say, not great in any of those countries, although New Zealand did much better than the rest of them. But yeah, so if you're interested in law or learning the legal history of Indigenous peoples, those are great books. The next one is one that I don't have easily findable on my show, Cabin 102 by Sherry Garland, and I read this book in 7th grade. It was assigned by my language arts teacher, who is amazing, and it's about this boy who, I believe he's on a cruise, and they're pretty young, you know, between 10 and 13, and he meets this ghost of a Taino girl, one of the Indigenous peoples of the Caribbean, on this cruise. And it's sort of their relationship and figuring out what happened to her, all the history that he doesn't know about her people. Also a really good book. Clearly, if I still remember it from 7th grade, I loved it. Alright, the next one is Dogs of God by James Reston Jr. You saw this on my October TBR. This is a book about all the threads of events that come together to form 1492, essentially, and the events that happened in 1492. And the last 3 are books related to this topic, either Columbus and Spain or Indigenous peoples, but they are historical fiction. So the first one I have read, and it's The Inquisitions Wife. Obviously it's set during the Spanish Inquisition, about that time, 1481, so a little bit before the Inquisition really starts in earnest, but it's a beginning. And this woman is a Jew whose mother kills herself in the beginning of the story, or pre-beginning of the story rather, because she doesn't want her family to have to deal with the shame of having a conversa within their bloodline. And this woman, the main character, marries a man who is very prominent in the Inquisition, and so she has to hide her Jewish bloodline, and it's her coming to grips with all of that and everything that happens during the Spanish Inquisition. Very good book. I did enjoy that one. And last 2 I have not actually read, but they were recommended to me by friends. And the first one is a what-if scenario. It's called 1000 White Women, The Journals of May Dodd by Jim Fergus. This book is a what-if story. What if in whatever year this is, it doesn't say, the United States government had actually given 1,000 white women to the tribe that had asked for them. I know there's more detail than this in this book. I don't remember a lot of it because I haven't read it yet, and the back is kind of vague, but a friend recommended this. She said it was a phenomenal read, very interesting. So I am excited to read this and see sort of what if. And the last book that I'm going to recommend is People of the Song Trail by W. Michael and Kathleen O'Neill. Gear? I'm really not sure. I hate it when they do this kind of stuff because I can't tell who's who. But anyway, it's by these people, right down here. This is, according to the nice little tagline up here, a novel of North America's forgotten past. So this book is about the 900s, thousands, so 10th, 11th centuries, when the Vikings came over to Newfoundland, and just sort of the history of the Americas before Columbus found them. This is about Indigenous peoples and sort of the exploration of the Americas before history as we know it, before modern history sort of came into being. So I do think this is going to be a very interesting read. Like I said, I haven't read it yet. I'm quite excited about it. But those are the 7 books I have to recommend to you. I know I haven't read several of them, but I'm going off of other recommendations. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up down below, and if you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe down below. I have linked my Goodreads down below as usual, and I will see you soon. Bye!